On the first day of Pride, my country love sent to me a hardback copy of Hermione. Pride was also canceled.
Peter Pan's Flight is a ride at Disneyland and Disney World, or more specifically, a rail-suspended dark ride. The original ride was made by this guy, and 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 this guy.
What's better than this?
Guys being dudes.
This will come as a shock to no one, but in the couple of times that I've been to Disney World, I forced my family to ride this ride with me multiple times. Now, I have no personal footage of this, but luckily, there are YouTubers who specialize in theme park vlogging, so you can find basically anything you could possibly need right here on youtube.bucksix.
That's right me from 2 years ago. Now, we don't have time in this video to go into the wild world of theme parks for all the theme park enthusiasts out there, especially the Disney World enthusiasts out there, because there are a lot of them. Because this isn't a series about theme parks, this is a series about Peter Pan adaptations. Does a theme park ride count as an adaptation? An adaptation of an adaptation? An adaptation once removed? It is in its own way an abridged version of the events of the film, but also the fact that it's meant to be experienced in a three-dimensional space, in my opinion, makes it a form of art that's different from a film or a book. So in my ranking system of Peter Pan adaptations that nobody cares about and that I probably won't film until I'm like 78, I'm going to be looking at adaptations of adaptations based on how faithful they are to the overall feeling of what they're adapting, as well as whether or not they have their own sort of cohesive narrative. So let's jump right into it. The original iteration of this ride was opened to the public in Disneyland, California in July of 1955, so 2 years after the animated movie came out. A second venue for Peter Pan's Flight began operation in 1971 in Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and in 1983, both attractions were updated to what's considered to be expanded versions, and that version more closely aligns with the ride that we know today. The first thing you'll experience is the queuing segment because, if you've never been to Disneyland or Disney World, the lines are famously long, and to make it feel less boring, you get to wait for the rides in hallways that match the ride's theme. For Peter Pan's Flight, you're walking through sets that look like the Darling House, with furniture and a little Tinkerbell trying to sneak around the set. The ride itself has its audience members sitting in a mini pirate ship that seats 2 or 3 if you have like a really small kid with you. While other dark rides at Disney will have passengers sitting in carts that follow metal tracks beneath them, Peter Pan ships are pulled by overhead tracks to make the riders feel like they're flying, as they view some of the main story beats from the movie, and music from those scenes will play in each room on a loop. Passengers are secured into their vehicle in the loading bay, and then the ride begins in the home of the Darling family. You fly through the nursery, past Nana, and sometimes past the Darling children themselves. I'm going to try and include as much different footage as I can, because depending on what park you're in or what year it is, the ride might look completely different. Some locations have simple animatronics with limited movement. Others will have animated projections of the characters and other light effects. We see a big model of Neverland, but because this is a condensed version of the film, we skip some of the story beats with the Lost Boys, the Natives, and the Mermaids, even if those animatronics or models are included, and we go straight to Skull Rock. Based on what I can find online, it seems like the earliest version of this ride ended there in Skull Rock. And I also found out that originally the writers were acknowledged by the characters to the point where Smee tries to shoot you out of the sky. Supposedly, you, the writer, were supposed to be Peter Pan experiencing these events, but I guess people didn't really get it, so later he was added to the ride and the writers were simply onlookers. Later on, a set was added after Skull Rock showing the confrontation between the boys and the pirates on the Jolly Roger, and then Peter sailing the Darlings back to London. I know this thanks to thorough documentation provided not just by the Imagineers, but also the fans. People love vlogging at Disney parks. You can find videos from as recent as this year, maybe even this month depending on when you look it up, of people riding these rides. It's so interesting to see all the different versions and how technology has improved over time. I found one version on YouTube. Somebody uploaded their home video footage from 1994, which, for you whippersnappers, means that this person was probably lugging around something like this.
Save on this 8mm Sony camcorder, including zoom lens and remote control, plus a free tripod, only $8.99.
Pretty sure my baptism was filmed on one of these things. Also, I was in Disney World in 1995? Yeah, I was in Disney World in 1995, so this is probably the version of the ride that I saw. Here I am. I even still have this little stuffy. Here. Here we go. Here he is. As technology has improved, as space was reallocated, as Disney updates their parks, the ride has changed. This ride now is very different from the ride that people first saw when the park opened, mostly because that version wasn't finished. It's kind of a well-known narrative that you'll hear like business people and event planners saying to each other on opening day, like when something goes wrong, like, oh, when Disneyland opened, none of the rides worked. I mean, that's kind of a broad generalization. Like, some of the rides did work. Peter Pan worked, it just like wasn't finished. From what I can find online, it looks like the little loading bay area wasn't done, and like employees had to help customers up into the pirate ship on a little like step stool. Opening day of Disneyland was still considered to be like a disaster. Like, people were still like painting stuff like up until the moment that can you hear my bracelets? People were painting stuff up until like the moment that the gates opened. There were plumbing problems. They ran out of food. The place was way too packed. And it was the middle of July, so it was hot as hell. But I mean, you know, for all that, at least you got to ride Peter Pan if you were there. Also, Ronald Reagan was there on opening day. I feel like there's a joke in there somewhere. I just can't think of one. So leave your best Ronald Reagan Disneyland joke in the comments. If you do, you will get nothing. So this ride has been a permanent fixture in the parks since the parks began. And every time an international park was built, Peter Pan's flight was there. There's a version in Disney World Paris, where it's apparently one of the most popular rides, so that's nice. There's a version in Disneyland Tokyo that opened in 1983, and in 2016 a version was opened in Shanghai Disneyland, which apparently is not only the longest ride at about 4 minutes, but it's the best version of the ride. Like, it looks amazing. So if we're looking at this ride as an adaptation, I think first we can say, like, safely that it is very light on plot. It doesn't really follow the plot, it more acknowledges the plot. It pays homage to the plot. It is to plot what LaCroix is to flavor. It's safe to say that no character or event is really fleshed out to the point where someone who doesn't know the story would understand what the heck's going on. But that's not really the point, is it? The point of this ride is to tell you a story. Not really in a literal sense, but more like the way that a song tells you a story. It's like a feeling. And so, so the Haunted Mansion, which is another famous Disney ride, it has a literal story that you can follow while you're riding it. You, the rider, enter the Haunted Mansion. You get a warning from the ghosts. You see spooky apparitions, like in the paintings on the walls. You see, like, some very translucent ghosts who are just kind of minding their own business. They don't really acknowledge you. You go through the attic of the house, you learn about this woman who killed her husband, and then you fall backwards off the balcony, simulating your death. You're then in a graveyard where the ghosts are very easy to see, and they're, like, singing to you because, like, now you're one of them, right?
Not this time.
But when I was a kid, I didn't pick up on any of that. It wasn't until I was an adult that someone told me that. But that didn't hinder my enjoyment of the ride at all. Like, I have very vivid memories of going on that ride and the way that I felt. Like, I remember the twists and turns. I remember being, like, it was all, like, very spooky, and I felt a certain way. So for this ride, for Peter Pan's Flight, the feeling isn't, like, heart-pounding. You're not supposed to be scared. The feeling is whimsy. You're in a flying pirate ship, and you fly off to Neverland, and you see, like, little miniatures, so it's like you're flying over London, and the music is playing, and it's all, ooh, magical. Each ride at Disney is meant to make you feel a certain way, and, I mean, based on some of the YouTube comments under these vlogs, like, the ride succeeded. To be honest, when I first started doing research for this segment, I didn't know that Peter Pan's ride was this beloved. Like, I love Peter Pan, but I'm very biased because of that. I have no understanding of, like, what public perception about Peter Pan is. I don't know if anyone even cares. So to see that this is, like, one of the most popular rides that Disney has was a really nice surprise for me. Disney is making a live-action Peter Pan because, of course, they are. So I was actually afraid that this ride might be on the way out because Disney's updating all of its IPs, but now seeing how much like people love these rides and how it's been like an intrinsic part of the Disney experience, now I don't feel that way. I don't really feel like this ride is going to go anywhere anytime soon. I guess if I were to be looking for anything in terms of like possible future updates to this video, it would be the American versions of the ride being updated to match like the Shanghai version, basically. The Shanghai version is the most high-tech version of this ride, so I'm just wondering like if in the coming years, because you know Disney's constantly like working on things and updating their rides for the experience, I'm just wondering like how much the American versions of this ride will be updated, just because technology has changed so much since the ride was first made. So I don't know, like maybe eventually I will update this segment or add to it, or who knows, maybe one day I'll become a Disney vlogger and I'll upload a vlog of me riding one of these rides. Who knows what the future holds. I thought I was a girl when I filmed that first segment, so truly there's no telling what the future holds. So I guess all that I have to say for now is that this ride is light on story, heavy on nostalgia, and apparently beloved by many. So I don't know what else to say. I'm not an amusement park person. I'm a book and film person. So this segment is done now.